Hello, everyone. Welcome to TrinSoft's introductory series on Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. Today's topic is filters, and we're going to show you how to use filters to find information, to filter certain records down, and to really help save yourself some time when looking for data inside Business Central. Be sure to check out our other videos that cover things like accessing the system, as well as personalization and other tips and tricks. Let's get started. Filters are used to find records and to limit views and to adjust totals. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We're going to go into the chart of accounts. We're in the Business Manager Role Center in the Cronus environment, which everybody should have access to. This is our demo and sample data environment. If I go to Finance Chart of Accounts, I'm going to see the Cronus chart of accounts with my sample data. And as I scroll through this list, I can see the different account lists. I can see different account types, which are totaling accounts versus posting accounts. Notice I have totaling and posting. I'm not going to talk much about the differences between those, right? That's part of our general ledger series. But today we're going to talk about how to filter records on this list. To make filters visible, you have a little filter icon in the top right. See this little filter link? And you want to click that link. Notice that it's now darkened and my filter views are available on the left. That's the first thing to know. When you want to access filters in Business Central, be sure to hit the filter link and then your filter window will be accessible on the left. There are two types of filters in Business Central: filter lists and filter totals. You won't always see both filter types on all pages, okay? On lists, you typically will if they have dollars. So in our chart of accounts list, we can filter the list, which will restrict the records visible in the list. And the first thing I'm going to do is filter this list so that I'm looking at posting accounts only. Notice some of these rows are bold and some are not. The difference, if I look over to the right in account type, is the account type setting. Some are begin or end totals, and some are posting. I only want to see records where the account type is posting. To do that, I'm going to go over on the filter list and I'm going to hit the little plus sign next to filter and I'm going to add a filter. Notice the different fields that I have available. It's currently the visible fields. I'm going to go to my account type. That's going to bring a drop down. Notice the different options that I have for that field, and I'm going to hit the check mark next to posting, and there you see it. The list is immediately updated, and I'm only seeing rows now that match my filter criteria. So I've applied a filter to this page or to this view so that I'm only viewing accounts that are of account type posting. Now, if I want to continue to filter the list further, maybe I only want to see where my category is an asset or my subcategory is cash. To do that, we continue, we add an additional filter. I leave the account type filter alone. I click the plus, add an additional filter to where my account subcategory, and then I can type the value. Notice this is not a drop down. I simply type the value in, and as soon as I tab off, my list is instantly filtered for cash. So now I'm looking at my entire chart of accounts list, but I have filtered it down where account type is posting and account subcategory is now cash. If I wish to remove one of these filters, I have a little X right next to the filter name. You can see it here on the left. You see the little X? I can remove that one. That will remove the account subcategory filter, and notice that the rows have immediately returned. I can now remove the account type filter, and the list is back to the way it was when I first opened it. Filters are a very powerful way to limit and find the records that you want inside Business Central, and they're available on virtually every list page in the system. Let's look at another example. In this one, I will go out and take a look at vendors. Small vendor list in the Cronus data set, but I'll go ahead and open up my Fabricam vendor. When I open up the vendor, I can see that this vendor I owe this vendor a pretty good amount of money. I'm going to use that link to drill into the ledger entries that represent the dollars that I owe that vendor. And here are all of those records. Again, anytime I'm seeing a list view with a lot of records like this, be it master records like vendors or customers or items, or ledger records like these, I can use this filter view to get to the records that I want to see, that I'm interested in. Now, a couple of things we'll point out about this. I didn't make filters visible here. It came up automatically. The reason is when I drilled down from the Fabricam card, it automatically applied a filter and limited the records to a certain vendor, in this case Fabricam, and only to records that are open. In the payables and receivables module, transactions come in as open, such as an invoice, and then it's closed with a payment. So this is only showing Fabricam invoices that I still owe, right? That are still due, and I can see the amount and the remaining amount that's still due. Again, I'm not going to get into a lot of details in the module functionality. We have videos dedicated to each of those. Today, we want to filter these records. Notice I have records that cross many months here. I'd like to focus on the invoices that are only for the month of March. How should I do that? I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to choose posting date, and I'm going to enter a range of March. To enter a date range, I'm going to enter 0301, and then ... represents a date range. So that says the beginning of March to 0331, which is the end of March. Notice I don't have to enter the year either. It will automatically apply the year to my date filter. When I hit tab, it instantly applies that filter, and notice that my list now is only limited to invoices that occurred in March. Filters are very, very powerful. I'm now looking at Fabricam, right, which is the invoice, the vendor filter that was automatically applied to me because I drilled down from that vendor, and I'm only looking at open invoices. What if I want to see all accounts payable invoices for all vendors for the month of March? Well, I can look at my filter settings, and I can simply remove the filter restriction for vendor by hitting the X. Now I'm looking at all open transactions for all vendors, and I can uncheck the open filter as well. Now I'm looking at all invoices for all vendors. Notice that I see additional vendors now for the month of March. Filters are very powerful. Lets me quickly and easily navigate and get to the records that I want. And remember the little tips for entering them, right? I can enter T to automatically be today, right? I can enter a date range, 0101 through March 31, which lets me see everything for the first quarter. And of course, document type might be a real common thing as well. I could go to document type and say, let me just see payments that I've made to vendors in the first quarter. By clicking that and coming off, it automatically shows me all payments made for the first quarter. So these are some nice little tips on filters. Again, they're accessible anywhere. Let's look at a couple of other examples, and let's explore total filters. To do that, we're going to come back out to our Cronus main role center. We're going to go back into our chart of accounts. Now, before we go much further, this is a typical trial balance chart of accounts. I have a couple of columns here that we'll concentrate on. Net change, which represents the change in account for the date period that were filtered. And currently there is no filter, so notice they're the same. And then I also have this balance field. Balance represents the current balance up to the minute. As of today, this moment, anything that's been posted, regardless of the date filter. One of the tips I'll give you right now is we do like to personalize. We encourage users to personalize this screen and make the balance field, or at least add to it, the balance at date field. We have a whole video on how to personalize your screens. So as I'm doing it now, and I'm clicking done, and now you can see that we have the balance at date field, and I'll show you the difference in those. Okay, with our balance fields visible now, let's look at filter totals, right? So if we take a look at some of our transactions in our sample company here, we'll take a look, for example, at our revenue for our resale. And notice that we've got a lot of transactions through a lot of months here. We would like to concentrate on only the transactions for May. So again, to limit rows, once we're in the rows list, right, I can come up here and I can add a filter, and I can change the posting date for May, which is very similar to what we've done before, right? But what I'd like to do is see what is the total of my transactions for May. You see, when I go back to my account, right? I'm seeing all these numbers are the same. I want to see resale for just the month of May. That's where filter totals come in. If you click filter totals, add a filter there of a date filter. If I enter my same May range, watch what happens to our totals here. They instantly change, right? So I now have the net change column represents the total of transactions for this date range. My balance at date column represents the cumulative year-to-date balance ending in this ending date filter. And notice how it's different than my current balance, which represents the current balance and does not restrict itself to a filter. So balance at date are the total sales as of May 31 year to date, and net change are the actual sales for the period of May itself. A lot of our users only look at net change and balance at date. I personally, as I use Business Central every day, I hardly ever use the balance column. Matter of fact, I recommend a lot of our end users go ahead and remove that column, which you can do very simply. Again, we've got a whole series on how to personalize and do the types of things I just did there. Check out our series on personalization. So now with this setup, this is my year-to-date column, right, as of May 31, and this is my net change for the month of May. So my resale revenue was 61,000 for May, and year-to-date through May 31, 752. That's the power of total filters. They will adjust, they'll automatically update the totals that are represented on totaling screens. The most common is by far the chart of accounts screen. You also use date ranges commonly when you're looking at account schedules and financial statements. So filters are very powerful. We have the ability to quickly and easily filter these totals. We can do it by dates. Another common filter might be your departments, right? Or your business groups. I could go to a department filter here and I could filter out for a department. I don't even have any sales activity there. Here are my 3 departments. Let's see if we have something in sales. And notice when I apply those filters, they're changing every time, right? Notice how we've got the amounts as I pick these filters, right? I don't have any administrative department sales. Let's see if we have any production, no production sales, right? And all of our sales revenue is recorded to our sales department. Very common filters. What if I wanted to look at sales and admin? The way you would do that, that's not ... That's done to do a date range. It's the pipe symbol to do sales or the administrative department. That's how you would do multiple options for your filter. So what I'm looking at now is the month of May, current totals in net change, year to date as of May 31 and balance at date, and I'm looking at the sales and administrative department. So this is a very popular tool. You'll use filters all the time. We'll look at one last example here as we go take a look maybe at our items. If we look at our item list, we have lots of different items in the list. Again, anytime there are rows like this, filtering is available. How do we turn it on? Look at the little filtering link. Once filters are on, notice I can filter totals, which could filter my quantity on hand. Right now, I can see that my London swivel chairs, I have 24 on hand. Right? That's as of this moment. That's the most recent, latest and greatest, everything that's been posted in our system. I believe I have 24. I can adjust that to see, well, how many did I have as of the end of May or as of the end of June? And then I can also, of course, adjust my filter here, and I can filter based on price or inventory or type or any of the other categories that we have. We might have different types of inventory. Maybe I want to know items where a substitute exists. So I can come in here and I can say, let me see items where we have substitutions available. Those are the 3 that I have. I can instantly see them. I can drill down on these quantities and see where they're coming from, right? And if I wanted to see quantities as of a different date, I could enter those date ranges by simply going back to my totals and then entering my date filters for something. Let's see here. We'll do as of 2/28, and we can adjust our totals. Right? Again, if I have no date at the beginning of that, that says show me everything from the beginning of time ending in February. If I wanted to see February's activity, I would enter 0201 through 28 and just see February. Okay, so last thing, I've got one more tip I'll show you on filters. For that, we head back to the chart of accounts. Notice it remembered my last filter there, but as I change those dates may come and go. Another trick that you have here is you have the ability to save filters. So I could say May trial balance. Very, very common, very useful trick there. Once I save that date filter, now if I look at the month of April, right, I'm looking at April. And if I come back out to Cronus and then go back into my chart of accounts, what date's it going to remember? Right? It knocked my dates out. I want to see my May trial balance. Well, because I saved it, I simply click the May trial balance and it remembers what that was. Now, again, it updated my dates because I changed those there. Right? And we can save that. And then we could go back to all, right? And update our totals again. Do our date filter and do our April total. Right, and now we've got our all saved, right? So we can switch to May, or we could switch back to all. A really, really good way. And you can save as many of these filters as you want. You can save different filter sets so that you don't have to come and redo them every time. So filtering is a very popular and powerful feature inside of Business Central. I encourage you to explore it a little bit. Go to your item list or your vendor list or your customer list, filter your customers and filter your vendors, and then go into the ledger entries, go into the transaction details for each like we did for vendors, and do some filtering so that you can see certain records by certain date ranges or certain types. It's very common to go look at invoices for a date range or maybe only payments to a vendor or payments for a period of time. Practice some of those filters and see if you get comfortable with it. And I'll leave you with one last tip. There's also a really nice feature in Business Central that makes it super easy to get data that you want to see out into Excel. So we'll take a look at that real quick as we look at Fabricam again and take a look at their ledger entries. Once you have those ledger entries filters, I want to look at Fabricam and I just want to look at their invoices. So I'm going to once again go to document type and add a filter here for invoice. Notice I'm only looking at invoices, right? And I'm only looking at March at this time, or open, I guess, at this time. If I want this set to go to Excel, here's a little link I want to show you. Right up here next to filtering, you can click this and choose Open in Excel, and it will instantly open that file into Excel for you. And there you see it. And all of those records come in very, very quickly, very easily. Now, we have a whole nother video that talks about integration with other Office applications and Excel, including this other link of how do I edit in Excel. Well, that depends on permissions and where you are on the screen. More on that video, but super easy way to get any list, any information you want out into Excel quickly and easily. Hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about filters. It's a powerful feature. Thanks for watching.